Hello and welcome, I'm Statman Cam and this is my tactical analysis of why Manchester United struggled against West Ham. The main area in which United struggled during this game was getting the ball from defence to attack and playing through West Ham. I'll now use some examples to illustrate why United struggled and how they can do better in future. In this first example, we'll see the importance of a good starting position and how it can make all the difference in terms of breaking the lines. So, Lindelof's on the ball, he's controlling a long ball from Ogbonna and has one option to go forward to Paul Pogba, but he chooses instead to go back to Harry Maguire. The important bit here is Matic's position. As we move on again, look at Matic, look how he's moving and look where he is in relation to the West Ham midfield line. As Maguire plays that pass, Matic is almost on the halfway line. If he were on that black X instead, he'd be able to turn pretty quickly on receiving that ball and play it into Marcus Rashford early, essentially eliminating the midfield and bypassing it, just by virtue of his starting position. Instead, as Matic takes yet another step backwards to receive the ball, you can see he's attracted Mark Noble towards him. Now, all of a sudden, Matic's only option is to go backwards to Harry Maguire. In this example, we've seen how Matic starting just a few yards further up the pitch and not moving backwards could allow that ball to transition from defence to attack very quickly and get the ball to the forwards in spaces between West Ham's defence and midfield. Instead, United opted to play in front of West Ham and lacked penetration in their passing. Quick, vertical passes are vital for breaking down a low block, and so Matic moving backwards and getting closer to Maguire to receive that ball is exactly the antithesis of what United needed to be doing. We'll now move on to a second example, which shows where United needed to be more incisive and more aggressive with their passing, rather than playing simple, safe options. As soon as Pogba gets this ball, it's got to go into Mason Greenwood, so that Greenwood could turn and run at the defence in some space. He's also got Marcus Rashford in a brilliant position for some interplay, in between the West Ham defence and midfield. Instead, Pogba plays this ball sideways to Nemanja Matic, and when Matic receives this ball, that option to Greenwood is still very much on. You can see as Matic takes another touch and starts to open up his body for that ball out to Brandon Williams, that pass into Mason Greenwood is still on. He needs to play that ball to Mason Greenwood because that's the most dangerous option he has. Moving on again, look at Marcus Rashford. He's got his arm up in the air, he's frustrated. He's telling Matic, give that ball to Mason Greenwood. He's in a great position between the lines. But Matic, by this point, it's too late. The West Ham players are too close together, and so that ball will probably be intercepted. Moving on again, Matic takes yet another touch before playing that pass out to Williams. Looking at Rashford, you can see he's frustrated. He's up on his toes, he's got his arms down by his sides, he's irritated that that ball didn't go through to Mason Greenwood. What Rashford needs to be doing though, is making that run in behind to offer Williams an option. It will drag out the West Ham right back and give Martial a bit of space in between the right back and centre back. Predictably though, no run is made, Williams has no option but to end up going backwards. In this example, we've seen how United's lack of incision and aggression to make a through pass and find the attackers in dangerous spaces in between the midfield and defensive lines has really let United down in this game. Our final example will focus again on movement and getting into the right positions. Here, Paul Pogba's on the ball. If you look at where Aaron Wan-Bissaka is, he should be on that black X. He should be nice and wide, offering an option for Paul Pogba, giving that outlet. Look also at the great pocket of space the referees found there. No Manchester United players are in that, but there's a massive gap in between the West Ham defence and midfield lines. With Wan-Bissaka's poor position, and because he's marked so closely, Pogba's only real option there is to go to Victor Lindelof outside him. Once Lindelof receives that ball, he's got to be looking to get that ball into Wan-Bissaka really early, so Wan-Bissaka can flick it on for Mason Greenwood, who can then run in behind the West Ham United left-back, Aaron Cresswell. Instead though, Lindelof decides to take another touch, and Wan-Bissaka makes a poor movement, trying to run in behind instead, failing to recognise that the real danger there comes from him holding his place, dragging Cresswell out of the defence and allowing Greenwood to get into the space behind him. Whilst Wan-Bissaka's decision to run in behind the defence is a really poor one, it's astonishing that there's no movement from any of United's other forward players to get into the massive space that he's vacated, the massive space between West Ham's defence and midfield lines. It's a really simple ball for Lindelof to play, and all of a sudden, then that player who's in that space has got an option of Wan-Bissaka overlapping wide right, Martial up against the defence, and there's suddenly a promising opportunity. Instead though, a lack of movement and willingness to get into the space on this occasion has cost United another possible goal scoring chance. Lindelof then ends up passing to Greenwood, who goes back to Paul Pogba, and the attack is completely dead. West Ham are in a much better defensive setup, they've shifted over to that side, and it's going to be really hard for United to play through that side, so they'll have to switch it to the other side and start again. This was another main feature of United's display against West Ham. Poor movement, failing to recognise dangerous situations, and how players can drag other defenders out of the way to create space for their teammates. Overall, it just shows a lack of footballing intelligence and IQ in the United side, something which badly needs fixing. Combined with a lack of movement, which is probably something to do with the fatigue and tiredness that United players are probably experiencing, it makes for a blunt attack, which is really poor considering how good United have been for the majority of the time since lockdown. If United are to beat Leicester and ensure they get themselves into the Champions League for next season, then they need to become more adept at playing in those wide areas. The fatigue needs to go out the window for one last 90 minutes. After this, there's plenty of time for the players to rest, but the lads need a huge effort one last time in the Premier League, matchday 38, to secure Champions League football for next season. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do smash the like button. If there's anything you want to see differently, if you want the format changed, please do drop me a comment, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you again, and see you next time.